The thing with Arsenokoite in 1 Corinthians 6:9 is that it's in a vice list. It's a singular word in a vice list. So it's hard to pin down its meaning, unlike Romans that has a bunch of verses that explains chapter 26 and 27. So you have all these prior verses in Romans that puts 26 and 27 in their context. You don't have that with Arsenokoite because it's just a bulleting of different vices and sins without any context. So that's why Arsenokoite, the word that's used in that, in verse 6:9, is because there's nothing explaining it before or after. So you have to understand what Paul was trying to do. Why he went to Leviticus to get that word. What was his purpose? Why did he go there? Now you have to understand that the word has been used after Paul to mean everything from, you name it, human trafficking, economic exploitation, pederasty, male and female, anal sex. The word was used after Paul for various, behaviors that were not homosexual behaviors between two males. And so you have all these different meanings the word was used for. So the question is, what is the real meaning of it? What was Paul doing when he used that word? Why did he use that word? So then you realize that Paul went to Leviticus and compounded the word from Leviticus. So if you go to Leviticus, then you find out what Paul was getting at. And to me, that's all that matters. You go to Paul and nobody else. You don't go to the early church fathers. You don't go to prior translations. You go to Paul and why he went to Leviticus. And if you understand that, then you know what Paul was getting at and why he used the word that he used. And it's clearly in the context of idolatry. There was no word in Paul's day to convey homosexuality in cultic practices. So he had to go to Leviticus to show that, which Leviticus verses were in the context of idolatry, the idolatry of the Canaanites. So that's the reason why he went there and didn't use all these other variations of words at his time to mean a homosexual. There were words to mean a gay couple, a singular homosexual, lesbians, but he never used any of those words of his time because he didn't want to convey that. He didn't want to convey it was about homosexuality. He wanted to convey it was about practices of homosexuality in the context of idolatry. So that's why he went to Leviticus, to get that meaning from there. Like I wrote before when I wrote about Arsenokoite, that it he could have used tons of words, tons of meanings of his day, and everybody would have known what he was talking about if he did. Oh yeah, you mean homosexuality, okay. But he didn't do that. He compounded a word which, was obscure, but it gave the meaning he wanted, which was homosexual practices in the context of idolatry. What he saw in the ancient world was all over the place. That's what he was addressing. That's also what he addresses in Romans 1. But unlike, the vice list in 1 Corinthians 6:9, he spells it out in Romans. He doesn't need to use Arsenokoite in Romans 1 because he spells it out with all the prior verses. So, Paul gives you his meaning of what the word means. All you have to do is just go to Paul and not go to all these other arguments and all these other sources. And some are ancient Jewish sources like for instance, that talk about the word in the context of pederasty. But, you go to Paul, and he'll tell you what the word means. And that's where you should stick. That's where you should go to, and that's where you should understand the meaning from.